Week 8 of the fantasy baseball season. Here's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for this week. The first hitter, Cal Riley of the Seattle Mariners. He's 0 for 36 now with a massive slump to begin the season. After last year, he had the historical season, especially at the catcher position with 60 home runs, 125 batted in, 14 bags, and a 247 average. But so far this season, 7 home runs, 18 RBIs, 13 runs scored, 2 stolen bases, a 157 average, and a 238 on base. And like I said, he's 0 for 36 in the last week. Here is Cal Riley. The power numbers went up a little bit over the last couple weeks. But like I said, he's in a mighty slump, but his strikeout rate is definitely alarming. 54 strikeouts in 153 at-bats. So like I said, he hasn't gotten a hit now. The last week and a half is Cal Riley, struggling big time for this Seattle Mariner team. But like we said, this guy just takes a little bit for him to get back going. And I think we could see him get going sooner than later as Riley. So right now, while he's struggling and he can't touch the baseball, it seems like he's definitely a buy low candidate because we've seen what he's capable of. Even if he has a down year, let's say, he still could finish with 30, 35 home runs, I believe. So this is a perfect time to buy him. May 8th at the White Sox 0 for 5. May 9th at the White Sox 0 for 4 with 2 Ks. May 10th at the White Sox 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts. And May 11th at Houston 0 for 4 with a strikeout. So like I said, he's been a big strikeout guy throughout his career. That's not going to change. Even last season, 188 times he struck out in 596 at-bats. But with him struggling mightily, and we know he's capable of still popping 35, 40 home runs, is Cal Riley. Definitely a hitter I would buy low this week. The next hitter, Manny Machado of the San Diego Padres. So Machado, even going back to his Baltimore Orioles days, we've seen some very slow starts from him. But when it's all said and done, those numbers are there at the back of his baseball card every season for Machado. And this Padre team, they're playing good so far this season as well. 6 home runs, 20 RBIs, 22 runs scored, a stolen base, a 191 average, and a 294 on base percentage in the last 2 weeks. He's struggling big time as well, where he's barely hitting it all. 4 for 41, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 4 runs scored, 098 average, and a 174 on base. And Machado, I think he's swinging for the fences too much. He's another guy over swinging a little bit, even though the strikeout rate isn't that alarming. 36 Ks and 136 at-bats, still a little high, but not obviously outrageous like a Cal Riley. So like I said, Machado and this team, they've had some trouble scoring runs over the last week, but I think he's going to get back on track. And like I said, I know he's a little older now, Machado, but we've seen seasons where he starts off slow, and then all of a sudden, July, August, he really gets going, and those stats are there at the end of the year. May 7th versus St. Louis, 0 for 3 a run. May 8th versus the Cardinals, 0 for 4. May 9th versus the Cardinals, 1 for 4, a homer and RBI. And May 10th versus the Cardinals, 0 for 4 with an RBI. So like I said, Machado, he's been too good for too long. The home runs is still a decent number, 6 on the season, where he's still on pace for about 25 to 30 this year, is Manny Machado. So right now, while he's struggling, I think he'll get back on track, is Machado. And like I said, this Padre team, they have a lot of talented hitters, but a lot of guys are struggling, including Fernando Tatis as well. Next hitter, Pete Crow Armstrong of the Chicago Cubs. So Crow Armstrong last season out of nowhere, even though we know he was a top prospect in the Mets system going a few years back, and they got him in the Javier Baez deal 3-4 deadlines ago. And on the year last year was 31.95 and 35 stolen bases with a 247 average and a 287 on base, where he was in the 30-30 club in his first full season in the major leagues, is Crow Armstrong. But so far this year, 4 home runs, 17 RBIs, 24 runs scored, 9 stolen bases, a 245 average, and a 313 on base. So Crow Armstrong, he definitely got that batting average up over the last month of the season, hitting 260 the last 4 weeks, is Crow Armstrong. But the power numbers haven't really been great. Stolen bases, he's got 9 on the season, so he's still on pace for about 20, 25 stolen bases. But I think PCA, he could really get going. And this Cub team, they're playing great baseball. The second best team as of now, in my opinion, in the National League, and especially at home. You can't beat this Cub team at home. The last few games for PCA, May 7th versus the Reds, 1 for 3, run and RBI, a stolen base. May 8th at Texas, 2 for 4, RBI, a stolen base. May 9th at Texas, 0 for 3, and May 10th at the Rangers, 0 for 3. So this Cub team, they open up this week at the Braves, and then they go to the Chicago White Sox. And this Brave pitching staff obviously pitching well. And even the White Sox, they got some guys pitching well. Davis Martin, Sean Burke, And Noah Schultz has been decent so far since he got called up, but I think PCA, he's starting to get in a rhythm a little bit. I know the power number's a little bit down. I don't know if he'll finish with 30 home runs, but still a guy that could be in the 20-30 club once again this season. So right now, while his numbers haven't been great, and he was a guy going pretty early in fantasy drafts, definitely a hitter to buy low this week. And next hitter, Austin Riley, the Atlanta Braves. So this Brave team, a commanding lead so far in the first 40 games of the season in the NL East. But Austin Riley, he really hasn't done much. And even Ronald Acuna, before he went on the injured list, he didn't do much as well. On the year for Riley, 5 home runs, 24 RBIs, 21 runs scored, 3 stolen bases, a .213 average, and a .285 on base percentage. So the last couple years, Riley, his numbers have dropped off a little bit, not putting up those elite numbers we've seen from him in the first few years in the major leagues. May 6th at Seattle, 0-for-3. May 8th at the Dodgers, 2-for-4 in RBI. May 9th at the Dodgers, 1-for-4 run in RBI. And May 10th at the Dodgers, 1-for-4 with a run. So like I said, this Brave team, they're playing great baseball. They're running away as of now with the NL East. And they just went into Los Angeles and won 2 out of 3. And now a premium matchup with the Chicago Cubs coming up this week and the Atlanta Braves. And then Boston is coming in. So pretty decent schedule this week for Austin Riley. We know he's a professional hitter. We know he's had some big years. And he's in a stacked lineup, obviously, with guys like Matt Olson, Drake Baldwin having an amazing season so far. Ozzie Albies, he's back on track a little bit as well. And Acuna will be back, and Michael Harris is playing good baseball. So like I said, a lot of good hitters in this lineup. And I think sooner than later, Austin Riley will break out of the slump and get going. And the final hitter, Bo Bichette of the New York Mets. He's been a total bust so far in the first 40 games of the season with his new team, where last year he was one of the clutchest hitters in all Major League Baseball. And we even saw in Game 7 versus the Dodgers in the World Series a big home run off of Shohei Ohtani for Bo Bichette. And I know this Met team banged up. Disco Lindor on the IL, Jorge Polanco, Luis Robert Jr., Soto, he was out for 2 weeks as well early in the season. But Bo Bichette, he's just struggling mightily. His on-base percentage ain't even 300 this season. 2 homers, 16 RBIs, 16 runs scored, an awful .222 average, and a .269 on base percentage. So we've seen some guys go to new teams so far this season, and they're just not living up to the bill. I know it's only 40 games, about for most teams into the season. Still, the weather really hasn't warmed up 100% on the East Coast, but something's got to give sooner than later with some of these guys. And Bo Bichette, he's been a huge bust, making $41 million a year this season. In the last 2 weeks, a homer, 4 RBIs, 4 runs scored, a .196 average, and a .269 on base. I know the Mets, they're trotting out some lineups where you're like, how are these guys even in the major leagues, like an Austin Slater or an Andy Ibanez? And now they called up one of their top prospects, AJ Ewing, to see if he could give this team a spark. But Bo Bichette, I think, should lead off for this Met team. I don't think it makes sense Juan Soto leading off. I would put Bichette first, but he's been batting second of late, and he's struggling from the number 2 hole. May 7th at the Rockies, 0-for-3. May 8th at the D-backs, 0-for-4. May 9th at the D-backs, 0-for-3. And May 10th at the D-backs, 0-for-3. So he's had an 0-for in his last 4 games. He's too good of a hitter, as Bo Bichette, and he's still taking the ball to right field, trying to hit it all over the yard. And he's had some bad luck as well, where he's got robbed on some hard hits or just some warning track power for Bo Bichette. So I think Bichette, he's going to get going sooner than later. And right now, you can get him on a real discount where he's only got the 2 home runs and hitting only .222. He said that on-base percentage ain't even 300, so he's definitely a hitter to buy this week. So that's a few hitters I look to buy and trade for Week 8 of the fantasy baseball season.